morning, Coach Jude. Good morning to my fellow classmates. So I'm Patricia De Cabrera from Bitalat ICT 1D. So now I'll explain the 14 Learner Center Psychological Philippines. When we say Learner Center, it's perspective that couples are focused on how individual learner, their variety, experience, perspective, backgrounds, talents, interests, capacity, and needs with focus on learning. This dual focus that forms and derives educational decisions making. Learner-centered psychological principles in the programs, practice, policies, and people that support learning for all are AFA in 1997. These learner-centered principles are also aligned to the beliefs, characteristics, the position in particular, the practice created by the instructors. The 14 learner-centered psychological principles are classified into 4 categories. First, metacognitive and cognitive factors. Second, affective and motivational factors. Third, developmental and social factors. And lastly, the individual different factors. So now, let's proceed to metacognitive and cognitive factors. When we say metacognitive and cognitive factors, this domain refers to thoughts process. Example, the cognitive factors involved in learning as well as the strategies students use to learn and their reflections about their thoughts processes. Example, the metacognitive factors. The learner-centered principles indicates that the learning process, particularly for complex materials, it is most effective when student intentionally constructs meaning from information and experience, are provided supports and guidance. Over time, the construct coherent representations of knowledge, can link new knowledge with existing knowledge in meaningful ways, and can use and develop various learning strategies. The learner centers indicate factors such as culture and instructional or facilitator practice. So now let's proceed to the principles of metacognitive and cognitive factors. So first, nature of learning process. The learning of complex subject matter is effective when it's unintentionally process of constructing meaning from information and experience. It is constructive scholar new learning as an active process when learners should learn to discover principles, concepts, and factors for themselves. Hence, the importance of encouraging guesswork and thinking in learning. In fact, from the social constructives, reality is not something that we can discover because it does not pre-exist prior to our social invention of it. Kukla 2000 argues that reality is constructed by our own activities and that people together as members of social invent and properties for the world. Principle 2. Goals of learning process. The successful learner over time and with support and instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representations of knowledge. These personal learning goals are about improving students' learning and achievement, about building student capacity to learn. They are about students becoming active participants in the learning, procreating, empowering them to become independent learners, and motivating them to achieve their full potential. And lastly, of principles, constructional of knowledge. The successful learner can link new informations with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. It is an active process that happens through individual or social engagement. This includes all types of learning acquired in any context: cultural knowledge, personal knowledge, metacognitive knowledge, and tacit knowledge. 4, 5, and 6 of principle of metacognitive and cognitive factors Ms. Jolly Rose Lapini will explain it.
So, good morning Coach Jude, good morning to my fellow classmates. So, I'm Patricia De Cabrera from Bitelet ICT 1D. So now, I will do the task 7, which is describe the factors affecting learner-centered psychological principles. Learning is influenced by environmental factors, including culture, technological, and instructional practices. What and how is learned is influenced by the learner's motivation. Motivational and affective factors. Motivation to learn, in turn, is influenced by the individual's emotional states, beliefs, interests, goals, and habits of thinking. Intrinsic motivation to learn, the learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. Moreover, they focus on psychological factors that are primarily internal to how under the controls of the learners rather conditions, habits, or sociological factors. However, the principle also attempt to acknowledge external environment or contextual factor to interact with their internal factors. In summary, in affecting learner-centered psychological principle, learner-centered education helps the student develop skills that will better equip them for their professional career. Teachers can be also trained in this approach, so they can apply the principles and provide their student with a better learning experience.
Good day everyone, I am Siti Marja H. Jan. I belong from the group of the Intimidators, one day Bitulan ICT. So today I will discuss about motivational and affective factors. First is motivational and emotional influence on learning. What and how much is learned is influenced by the motivation. Motivation to learn, in turn, is influenced by the individual's emotional states, beliefs, interests, and goals and habits of thinking. The rich internal world of thoughts, beliefs, goals, and expectation for success or failure can enhance or interfere the learner's quality of thinking and information processing. Students' beliefs about themselves as learners and the nature of learning have a marked influence on motivation. Motivational and emotional factors also influence both the quality of thinking and information processing as well as the individual's motivation to learn. Positive emotions, such as curiosity, generally enhance motivation and facilitate learning and performance. Mild anxiety can also enhance learning and performance by focusing the learner's attention on a particular task. So, meaning to say, students are more motivated to engage in learning when they feel competent to do what is expected of them and perceive stable links between actions and achievements. They value the subject and have a clear sense of purpose. They experience positive emotions toward learning activities and, contrariwise, turn away from learning when they experience negative emotions and when they perceive the environment as favorable for learning. So let's proceed to number 2, which is intrinsic motivation to learn. The learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. So, intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevant to personal interest, and providing for personal choice and control. So, curiosity, flexible, and insightful thinking, and creativity are major indicators of learners' intrinsic motivation to learn, which is in large part of a function of meeting basic needs to be competent and to exercise personal control. So, intrinsic motivation is facilitated on tasks that learners perceive as interesting and personally relevant and meaningful, appropriate complexity and difficulty to the learner's ability, and on which they believe they can succeed. So, intrinsic means motivation occurs when we act without any obvious external rewards. We simply enjoy an activity or see it as an opportunity to explore, learn, and actualize our potentials. Third, motivational effective factors of education is effects of motivation on effort. Acquisition of complex knowledge and skills requires extended learner effort and guided practice. Without learners' motivation to learn, the willingness to exert this effort is unlikely without coercion. Effort is another major indicator of motivation to learn. The acquisition of complex knowledge and skills demands the investment of considerable learner energy and strategic effort, along with persistence over time. Educators need to be concerned with the facilitating motivation by strategies that enhance learner effort and commitment to learning and to achieving high standards of comprehension and understanding. So, effort is important to learn about things or to learn new things. Every human being have their own motivation in life to be successful. But motivation don't work if you don't give efforts to it. In motivation, we also need effort to become our dreams come true. That's all.
Good morning, Coach Jude. Good morning to my fellow classmate. My name is Jolly Rose Lapinik from the group Intimidators. So today, I'm going to discuss cognitive and metacognitive factors 4, 5, and 6. Number 4, strategic thinking. The successful learner can create and use repertoire of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. Strategic thinking are any skills that enable you to use critical thinking to solve complex problems and plan for the future. In its simplest form, strategic thinking is an ability to plan for the future. It is also involves making a series of decisions. For example, me as a teacher, I need to use a strategy to help my students to begin to understand the process of learning. It is also help students to bypass their areas of weakness and to perform at the level at which they are capable. Thinking about thinking. Higher order strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operation facilitate creative and critical thinking. Thinking about thinking is the ability to think about and regulate one's own thought. We call it metacognition, but metacognition also encompasses the regulation of these thoughts, the ability to change them. As a student, sometimes we get frustrated because of the tasks that we need to do, but we must think about strategies or methods so that we can figure out how to face those situations without getting frustrated. Because of this metacognition, we manage our own learning and learn difficult concepts. Number 6, context of learning. Learning does not occur in a vacuum. Learners discover and construct meaning from information and experience based on their unique perceptions, thoughts, and feelings. Teachers a major interactive role with both the learner and the learning environment. Many educationally significant characteristics such as motivation, attitude toward learning, and methods of thinking can be influenced by cultural or group impact on students. Learner pass knowledge cognitive capacities, and learning and thinking process must all be considered while developing technologies and instructional approaches. That's all. Thank you.
Everyone, good day to all of you, especially to you, Coach Jude. Let me introduce myself. I am Noraini Katan from Ped1 Task. So, I'm here to discuss the given task to me, which is the developmental and social factors. So, I will discuss first the developmental influence on learning. So, as an individual develops, there are different opportunities and constraints for learning. Learning is most effective when differential development and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains taken into account. Individuals learn best when the material is appropriate to their developmental level and is presented in enjoyable and interesting way because individual development varies across intellectual, emotional, social, and physical domains. Achievement in different instructional domains. It may also vary. So, for example, there also may preclude learners from demonstrating that they are more capable in other area of performance. So that's the developmental influence on learning. So let's move to the next influence learning, which is the social factor.